There is something I have been wanting to say for a long time. Not because I finally found the perfect words. Actually, quite the opposite, because I realize that some feelings become less honest when you spend too much time trying to make them sound perfect. So tonight, I just want to speak to you. You. The woman who may not even know my name yet. The woman who may be living her own life somewhere, carrying her own responsibilities, protecting her own heart, and wondering sometimes whether the person meant for her is still somewhere out there. And if these words somehow found their way to you, stay with me for a little while. If something in them feels familiar, you can subscribe and stay close to this little corner of the internet where we talk about the things people often feel but rarely say. And if someone you love needs to hear these words too, send this message to them. Because there is one thing I want you to understand before anything else. I am not looking for perfection. I am looking for something real, and perhaps that is why I want to tell you something that sounds incredibly simple. My personal number is waiting for you. Yes, my number. Not because a number can change someone's life. It can't. A number is only a collection of digits, but behind those digits is something much more meaningful. A possibility, a door, a quiet invitation, a way of saying, when you finally find me, you won't have to wonder whether I wanted you to reach me. You will. I want you to be able to call me. I want you to be able to message me. I want there to be a place in my life where your name doesn't feel like an interruption. It feels like home. And maybe that sounds too simple. But the older I become, the more I understand that love is rarely about the enormous things people imagine. It is often hidden inside the ordinary. A good morning message, a phone call after a difficult day, someone asking, "Did you get home safely?" Someone remembering how you take your coffee. Someone noticing that your voice sounds different and asking what happened instead of pretending not to notice. That is the kind of love I want, not something that looks impressive from the outside, something that feels safe from the inside. And there is a reason I am telling you this now. Because I don't want you to arrive in my life and discover that I had never thought about what I wanted to give you. I have. I've thought about it more than you probably realize. I've thought about what it means to give someone access to your heart. I've thought about how frightening it can be to trust another person. I've thought about how two people can love each other and still hurt each other if they don't know how to communicate. I've thought about how easily silence can become distance. And I've thought about how many relationships don't end because love disappeared. Sometimes they end because two people stopped explaining what was happening inside them. One became quiet. The other assumed. One needed reassurance. The other thought giving space was kindness. One wanted to be understood. The other wanted to be right. And slowly, without either person noticing the exact moment it happened, two people who once felt close began living in separate emotional worlds. I don't want that for us. If you become my wife, I don't want us to become strangers who happen to share the same house. I want to know you, not just the version of you that everyone else sees. I want to know the thoughts you don't say immediately, the things that make you nervous, the things you are proud of but rarely mention, the memories you still carry, the dreams you almost gave up on, the parts of yourself you learned to hide because someone once made you feel that they were too much. I want to know those parts too, because real intimacy begins when you stop performing. And perhaps that is one of the most misunderstood things about love. People often think intimacy means knowing everything about someone. I don't think it does. I think intimacy means creating a place where someone feels safe enough to tell you the things they have never been able to explain properly. There is a difference. You can know someone's favorite color, favorite food, favorite movie, childhood memories, and daily routine, and still not know them. But you can sit quietly beside someone and understand that they don't need advice, they just need you to stay. That is knowing someone. That is the kind of connection I hope we build. And I want you to know something else. You don't have to impress me. You don't have to arrive in my life pretending that you have everything figured out. Please. I don't want a woman who never gets tired. I don't want someone who never cries. I don't want someone who always knows what to say. I want you to be human with me. If you're exhausted, tell me. If something hurt, tell me. If you're angry with me, tell me. If you need space, tell me. If you need reassurance, ask me. And if one day you simply want to sit beside me without saying anything, then sit beside me. You don't have to fill every silence, because there is a kind of silence that separates people, and there is another kind that brings them closer. The difference is whether both people feel safe inside it. That matters to me, more than grand promises, more than beautiful words, more than anything I could possibly put into a photograph or write in a message. And maybe that's why this number means more to me than it should, because someday, when you finally have it, I don't want you to see it as just another contact in your phone. I want you to understand what it represents. It represents access, not unlimited access to every moment of my life, but access to me, to my attention, to my honesty, to the person I am when nobody else is watching. And I hope that when you call me for the first time, there won't be a performance on either side. No pretending. No trying to sound more confident than we feel. Just two people realizing that somehow, after all the years we spent living separate lives, we finally found the person we had been waiting to meet. But there is something I need to tell you before we go any further. I don't know when you will find me. I don't know where we will meet. I don't know what your first impression of me will be. Maybe you'll immediately feel something. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll need time. And I respect that, because love should never feel like pressure. It should feel like recognition growing slowly. Like two people discovering, piece by piece, that they can lower their defenses around each other. And if that takes time, I'll let it take time, because I would rather build something slowly that survives difficult days than build something quickly that collapses the first time life becomes complicated. And believe me, life will become complicated. There will be days when we're tired. There will be misunderstandings. There will be moments when one of us says something the other didn't mean to hear. There will be responsibilities. There will be uncertainty. There may even be moments when we wonder whether we are doing everything right. But I don't want us to measure our love by whether we never struggle. I want us to measure it by what we do when we struggle. Do we run? Or do we turn toward each other? Do we become defensive? Or do we become curious? Do we try to win? Or do we try to understand? Because the strongest relationship isn't necessarily the one with the fewest problems. Sometimes it is the one where two people refuse to make the problem bigger than the love between them. And that is something I want you to remember about me. If I love you, I don't want to compete with you. I want to understand you. I don't want to control your life. I want to share it. I don't want to erase the person you were before me. I want to know her. Because before you become my wife, you will already have lived a whole life. You will have memories I wasn't there for, people I never met, places I never saw, decisions I never witnessed, pain I may never fully understand. And I don't want to be jealous of the years before me. Those years made you who you are. I want to respect them. I want to respect the woman who existed before she ever knew my name. Because someday, when you finally look at me and realize that I am the person you want beside you, I don't want you to feel like you lost your old life. I want you to feel like your life became bigger. And maybe that's what love is supposed to do. Not make two people disappear into each other, but give two complete people somewhere safe to belong. So, yes, my personal number is waiting for you. But more than that, my honesty is waiting for you. My patience, my willingness to listen. My imperfect heart. My desire to build something that doesn't need an audience to prove that it is real. And perhaps one day, you will save my number. You might look at my name on your screen and smile. Maybe you won't even realize how much that tiny moment means to me. Because I will know something you won't yet understand. That number was never really waiting for a phone call. It was waiting for you. And there is still so much I want to tell you about what I hope happens after you finally call. Because giving you my number is the easy part. What I want to give you after that is much more difficult and much more important. Maybe you are wondering why I care so much about something as ordinary as a phone number. The truth is, I don't care about the number. I care about what happens when two people finally decide they don't want to keep their feelings hidden behind distance. Because sometimes we make love much more complicated than it needs to be. We wait for the perfect moment, the perfect sentence, the perfect opportunity. We tell ourselves that someday we'll say what we really feel. Someday we'll make the call. Someday we'll apologize. Someday we'll tell someone that they matter. And then life moves forward. That is one of the saddest things about being human. We understand the value of a moment only after the moment has already passed. So I don't want to live that way with you. If you matter to me, I want you to know. If I miss you, I want to be able to say it. If I'm grateful for you, I don't want to assume you already know. And if I love you, I don't want pride to make me silent, because there is nothing romantic about making someone you love constantly guess how you feel. Love should not feel like a puzzle. You shouldn't have to study my behavior to determine whether I care. You shouldn't have to wonder why I became distant. You shouldn't have to lie awake at night, interpreting a short message. You shouldn't have to ask yourself whether you are important to me. I want my actions to answer those questions before you ever have to ask them. And that doesn't mean I will always get everything right. I won't. I will make mistakes. There will be days when I misunderstand you. There will be moments when I say something badly. There may be times when I become quiet because I am trying to understand my own thoughts. But I want you to know the difference between silence and abandonment. If I need time, I'll tell you. If something is wrong, I'll try to explain it. If you hurt me, I want to talk about it. And if I hurt you, I want to be humble enough to listen. That matters. Because one of the most dangerous things that can happen between two people is not an argument. It is the moment when both people stop trying. An argument means something still matters. Indifference is different. Indifference is when someone stops asking, stops explaining, stops reaching, stops caring whether the other person understands. I never want us to reach that place. I want us to remain curious about each other, even after years. Especially after years, because the person you love is never exactly the same person you first met. People change, their priorities change, their fears change, their dreams change, their bodies change, their understanding of themselves changes. And if we are lucky enough to grow old together, I don't want to spend 20 years loving an old version of you. I want to keep meeting you, again and again. I want to notice the small changes, the new things you care about, the opinions you have developed, the things that no longer matter to you, the things that suddenly matter more. I want to ask questions, not because I don't know you, but because I know you will never stop becoming someone new. There is something beautiful about that. The idea that I could spend years with one person and still discover something about her that I didn't know yesterday. That doesn't make love uncertain, it makes love alive. And perhaps this is why emotional connection becomes so important as people grow older. When you're younger, attraction can feel like enough. Everything is intense. Everything feels new. A message can change your entire mood. A glance can stay in your mind all day, but eventually, you begin to understand that intensity isn't the same as intimacy. Intensity can happen quickly. Intimacy takes time. Intensity says, I can't stop thinking about you. Intimacy says, I know you well enough to understand why this matters to you. Intensity wants closeness. Intimacy creates safety. And if you become my wife, I want both. But, especially the second one, I want you to feel safe with me. Safe enough to disagree. Safe enough to say no. Safe enough to tell me when I'm wrong. Safe enough to tell me when you need something. Safe enough to be completely yourself without wondering whether I will love you less for it. Because love that disappears when someone becomes honest was never as strong as it appeared. Real love has room for truth. And I want truth between us, even when truth is uncomfortable. Especially then. I don't want you to tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me what you actually feel. If you're happy, let me see it. If you're worried, let me know. If you're confused, don't hide it. If you need reassurance, don't feel ashamed of needing it. Needing someone sometimes doesn't make you weak. It makes you human, and I hope you will let me be human with you too. There may be nights when I don't have the right answer. There may be moments when all I can offer you is my presence, and maybe that will be enough, because sometimes the person you love doesn't need a solution. They need to know they aren't carrying everything alone. Think about how powerful that is. Someone sitting beside you while the world feels heavy. No perfect speech, no dramatic promise, just, I'm here. Those 2 words can mean more than 100 beautiful sentences. And that's the kind of relationship I want, a relationship where presence matters, where ordinary moments matter, where we don't need to constantly prove that we're happy, because we actually feel connected when nobody is watching. I don't need our relationship to look perfect. I need it to feel honest. There is a difference. And I think many people eventually learn that the most valuable kind of love is not the love that makes everyone else jealous. It is the love that allows you to breathe. The love that makes your shoulders relax. The love that lets you put your phone down without wondering whether someone is angry. The love that doesn't punish you with silence. The love that doesn't use your vulnerabilities against you later. The love that doesn't make you earn basic respect. That is what I want to build. Something peaceful. Not boring, peaceful. There is a difference. I still want laughter. I still want excitement. I still want those conversations that somehow continue long after midnight. I want to hear you talk about something you care deeply about, and watch the expression on your face change while you explain it. I want to know what makes you laugh when you're trying not to. I want to know which memories instantly make you smile. I want to know what kind of day makes you want to disappear for a few hours and be left alone. And I want to learn how to love you in the language you actually understand, not only in the language I naturally speak, because sometimes we love people according to our own preferences. We give what we would want to receive. But your heart may need something different. Maybe you need words. Maybe you need time. Maybe you need physical closeness. Maybe you need practical help. Maybe you simply need someone who remembers. And I want to learn, not perfectly, but sincerely. Because loving someone is partly an education. You learn their silences, their boundaries, their fears, happiness, their rhythms. And every year you discover that you still have more to learn. That doesn't frighten me. It excites me, because if you become my wife, I don't want to reach a point where I think I already know everything about you. I want to remain interested. I want to remain gentle. I want to remain grateful. And there is one promise I hope I can make without turning it into a beautiful sentence that sounds good but means nothing. I don't want to love you only when loving you is easy. Anyone can say beautiful things during easy days. The real question is what happens when life becomes difficult? What happens when we're tired? What happens when money becomes stressful? What happens when family responsibilities become heavy? What happens when one of us is struggling? What happens when we disagree? What happens when neither of us feels particularly romantic? That is where I want our love to become real, not louder, deeper. Because love isn't only the feeling you have when you're looking into someone's eyes. Sometimes love is choosing your words carefully when you're angry. Sometimes love is apologizing before your pride allows you to. Sometimes love is listening to the same concern for the 5th time, because you understand that repeating it doesn't mean the person is trying to annoy you. Sometimes love is making room. Sometimes it is waiting. Sometimes it is forgiving. And sometimes it is simply staying emotionally present when disappearing would be easier. That's what I want you to find when you finally reach me. Not a perfect man. A man who is willing to keep learning how to love you. And maybe that's why I keep thinking about that number, because one day, it won't just be a number waiting somewhere. It will be connected to your voice. And when I hear your voice on the other side, I hope I remember this exact feeling. The feeling of knowing that something I once could only imagine has finally become real. But there is still something I haven't told you. Something even more personal. Because giving you my number isn't really about asking you to contact me. It's about telling you what I hope you will never be afraid to say once you do. And that is where I want to take you next. When you finally call me, I don't want you to wonder what you are supposed to say. You don't need to prepare anything. You don't need to sound perfect. You don't need to find some special opening sentence that makes the moment unforgettable. Just say hello. That's enough. Because sometimes we place so much pressure on important moments that we forget what actually makes them important. It isn't the perfect words, it's the person saying them. And if your voice is on the other side of that phone, I think I will understand something immediately. That the distance between two strangers has finally become smaller. Not because we suddenly know everything about each other. We won't, but because one person finally decided to reach toward another. And that first reach matters. It takes courage to let someone into your life. Especially when you've already lived long enough to understand that people can disappoint you. Maybe you've learned not to trust too quickly. Maybe you've learned to protect your peace. Maybe you've become comfortable handling everything yourself. Maybe you've told yourself that you don't need anyone. And perhaps you don't. But there is a difference between not needing someone and choosing someone. I don't want you to choose me because you cannot live without me. I want you to choose me because your life feels better, safer, warmer, and more meaningful with me in it. That distinction matters. I don't want dependence to be the foundation of our relationship. I want partnership. I want two people who can stand on their own feet and still reach for each other's hands. There is something incredibly powerful about being chosen by someone who doesn't need to choose you. They simply want to. And if that day comes, I want you to know that I won't take your choice lightly. Because you could have chosen someone else. You could have remained alone. You could have protected yourself forever. You could have decided that love wasn't worth the risk. But if you choose to open that door for me, I will understand the responsibility that comes with walking through it. And perhaps this is the part people don't talk about enough. Being loved is not only a beautiful feeling, it is a responsibility. When someone gives you their trust, you are holding something fragile. You can protect it, or you can break it. And once you understand that, love becomes much more serious. I don't want to become careless with your trust. I don't want your private thoughts to become ammunition during disagreements. I don't want the things you tell me in confidence to become things I later use against you. I don't want you to regret being vulnerable with me. If you tell me something that hurts you, I want to remember it. If you tell me something you're afraid of, I want to handle it gently. If you tell me something you've never told anyone before, I want you to feel that it landed somewhere safe. Because vulnerability changes people. When someone finally says, "This is the part of me I'm afraid you'll judge," what they are really asking is, "Can I trust you with this?" And the answer should never be given only with words. It should be given through behavior, again and again. That is how trust is built. Not in one emotional conversation, not through one promise, through hundreds of small moments. A person says they will call, and they call. They say they will listen, and they listen. They say they understand, and they try to understand. They make a mistake, and they take responsibility. They are angry, but they don't become cruel. Those small decisions become the foundation. And someday, perhaps without even realizing it, you stop asking whether the person is safe. You simply know, that is what I want for you with me. I want you to reach a point where you don't have to analyze every message. You don't have to wonder what a delayed reply means. You don't have to compare yourself to other women. You don't have to question whether I still want you. You don't have to perform for my attention. You should know. And I want to know too, because reassurance is not weakness. Sometimes people say, if they really loved me, they wouldn't need reassurance. I don't believe that. Even strong people need reassurance. Even confident people have difficult days. Even people who deeply trust each other sometimes need to hear, "We're okay." There is nothing shameful about that. If you ever need to hear those words from me, I'll say them, and if I ever need them from you, I hope you will say them too. Not because our love is weak, because we are human. And human beings sometimes become afraid even when they have something beautiful in front of them. Fear doesn't always mean something is wrong. Sometimes fear simply means something matters. Think about that. You don't become afraid of losing something that means nothing to you. And perhaps that is why love can feel so vulnerable. The moment you truly care about someone, they suddenly have the ability to affect you in ways nobody else can. Their happiness matters to you. Their sadness matters to you. Their silence can affect you. Their words can stay with you. Their absence can make an ordinary day feel different. That vulnerability that can be frightening. But I don't want us to run from it. I want us to handle it carefully, because there is no completely safe way to love. You cannot guarantee that nothing will ever hurt. You cannot guarantee that every day will be easy. You cannot guarantee that life will always follow the plan you imagined, but you can choose who you face uncertainty with. And if that person is you, I want to face it together. I want to be able to look at you during difficult seasons and remember that we are on the same side. Not you against me, not me against you, as against whatever is trying to pull us apart. That mindset can change everything, because sometimes the person standing across from you isn't the enemy, they're the person who is hurting too. And when two people remember that during an argument, something changes, the goal stops being victory, the goal becomes understanding. You stop thinking, how can I prove that I'm right? And you start asking, what are you trying to tell me? That question can save relationships, because underneath anger, there is often something more vulnerable: fear, disappointment, feeling ignored, feeling unimportant, feeling misunderstood, wanting reassurance, wanting to matter. Anger is sometimes only the loudest expression of a quieter pain. And if I ever become angry with you, I want to remember that. I want to slow down enough to ask myself what is really happening inside me, because loving you doesn't mean I will never become frustrated. It means I am responsible for what I do with that frustration. That distinction matters. I can be upset without humiliating you. I can disagree without disrespecting you. I can need space without making you feel abandoned. And I can apologize without believing that saying sorry makes me smaller. In fact, I think there is strength in saying I was wrong. Real strength. The kind that doesn't need an audience. The kind that doesn't need to win. And if you become my wife, I hope we both become better at that. Not perfect. Better. Because I don't want our relationship to be a place where we keep score. I don't want to remember every mistake you've made so I can bring it back when I'm angry. I want us to learn how to release things. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending something didn't happen. It means deciding that the worst moment between two people doesn't have to become the definition of everything between them. But forgiveness also needs change. Otherwise, the same wound keeps reopening. So if I hurt you, I don't want to simply say sorry. I want to understand what needs to change. And if you hurt me, I hope you will want the same. That is what makes forgiveness meaningful, not forgetting, growing. And maybe that is one of the reasons I don't want to rush toward some perfect image of marriage. I want the real thing, the ordinary mornings, the difficult conversations, the unexpected laughter, the quiet evenings, the decisions we have to make, the responsibilities, the compromises, the moments when we look at each other and realize that neither of us has the answer. I want all of it, because I don't want to love an imaginary version of you. I want to love the real woman, the woman who has moods, opinions, strengths, weaknesses, habits, fears, dreams. And I want you to have the same freedom with me. Don't love the version of me you imagine. Now me. Question me. Understand me. And if you still choose me after seeing the real person, then your choice will mean more than any romantic promise ever could. So when you finally call that number, don't worry about impressing me. You don't have to say anything extraordinary. Just be honest. Tell me who you are. Tell me what matters to you. Tell me what you hope for. Tell me what you are afraid of. And perhaps, somewhere in that first honest conversation, we will begin discovering something neither of us can force. Whether our lives were meant to move in the same direction, because that is what I want, not a fantasy, not a perfect beginning, a real beginning. And there is one question I hope you will eventually ask me, not about my number, not about marriage, not even about love. A question about the kind of life I want to build with you, because the answer to that question may tell you more about me than any romantic sentence ever could. If you ever ask me what kind of life I want with you, I don't think I will give you some perfect answer, because I don't want to describe a life that sounds beautiful but has no connection to reality. I want something much simpler. I want a life where we know we are on the same side. That's it. Everything else grows from there. I want us to be able to talk about money without embarrassment, about family without fear, about the future without pretending we know exactly what will happen. I want us to talk about the things that excite us and the things that worry us. I want decisions to feel like decisions we make together, not battles where one person has to win. And I want you to know that your opinion will matter to me, not because we will always agree. We won't. But because loving someone means allowing their perspective to exist beside yours. There is something beautiful about realizing that another person can see the same world differently and still choose to stand beside you. I don't need you to become like me. I don't want to erase your individuality. If anything, I want to protect it. You should still have your own interests, your own friendships, your own thoughts, your own quiet time, your own relationship with yourself. Because being married should not mean losing yourself. It should mean having someone beside you while you continue becoming yourself. And I hope you will give me the same freedom. There may be days when I need silence, days when I need to think, days when I need to step back and understand something before I can explain it. I hope you won't immediately interpret that as a lack of love. And I promise I will learn not to use silence as a weapon. There is a difference between needing quiet and deliberately making someone suffer through uncertainty. I want us to understand that difference. Because communication isn't about talking every second. It's about making sure the other person doesn't have to live inside unnecessary confusion. If I need time, I'll tell you. If you need time, tell me. We don't have to solve everything in the exact moment it becomes difficult. Sometimes emotions need somewhere to settle. Sometimes the mind needs a little distance before it can see clearly. But after that, we come back. That's important. We come back. We don't disappear. We don't punish each other. We don't turn one difficult moment into a permanent wall. We come back, and maybe that is one of the quietest forms of commitment, not promising that nothing will ever go wrong. Promising that when something does go wrong, we will try to find our way back to each other. I think people sometimes imagine commitment as a dramatic decision, a ceremony, a ring, a promise spoken in front of other people. And yes, those moments can be beautiful. But commitment continues long after everyone goes home. It appears in ordinary decisions nobody applauds. It appears when you're exhausted and still choose kindness. It appears when you're disappointed and still choose honesty. It appears when you could win an argument, but choose peace instead. It appears when your partner has changed and you decide to learn who they are now. That is the kind of commitment I want, the quiet kind. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself. And perhaps that is why I keep thinking about the idea of giving you my personal number. Because a phone is such an ordinary thing. We carry it everywhere, we check it without thinking. We use it for work, responsibilities, appointments, messages, information, and thousands of other things. But one name can make the entire screen feel different. One person can turn an ordinary notification into something you genuinely want to see. And I want your name to mean something to me. Not because of the notification, because of the person behind it. I want to reach a point where I can see your name and immediately wonder how you're doing. Not what you can do for me. How are you? That's a different kind of love. A love that becomes interested in the person rather than simply the relationship. I don't want to ask, what are you doing for us? I want to ask, how are you doing? Because sometimes those are completely different questions. You can be doing everything for everyone, and still not be okay. You can smile, you can answer messages, you can take care of responsibilities, you can say I'm fine, and still feel exhausted inside. I want to notice. Not because I think I will always understand you perfectly, I won't, but because I want to pay attention. Attention is one of the purest forms of affection. When someone remembers what you said 3 weeks ago, they were listening. When someone notices that something has changed, they were paying attention. When someone remembers the thing you were nervous about, they cared enough to hold it in their mind. That matters, and I want to give you that kind of attention, not obsessive attention, not controlling attention, gentle attention, the kind that says, you matter enough for me to notice, and I want you to notice me too. There will be things I don't say immediately, not because I want secrets between us. Sometimes people simply need time to understand themselves. Maybe I'll have a difficult day and not know how to explain it. Maybe something from the past will suddenly come back into my mind. Maybe I will become quieter than usual. If you notice that, I hope you won't immediately assume the worst. Ask me, and I'll try to answer. That's the kind of relationship I want. A place where questions are safer than assumptions, because assumptions can create distance faster than almost anything. You think you know what someone meant. They think you understood. Neither person checks, and suddenly both people are hurt by something that may never have been intended. I don't want that. If something feels wrong, let's talk. If something feels good, let's talk about that too. Don't only communicate when there is a problem. Tell me when you're happy. Tell me when you feel loved. Tell me when something I did meant more to you than I realized. I want to know those things, because positive moments deserve to be remembered too. Sometimes people become so focused on fixing what is wrong that they forget to appreciate what is right. I don't want to make that mistake, if I am lucky enough to have you. I want to notice the good. I want to appreciate the ordinary. I want to be grateful while it is happening, not years later. While it is happening, because life moves quickly, faster than we expect. And one day, we look back and realize that the moments we thought were ordinary were actually the moments we were going to miss the most. Not the expensive things, not the impressive things, the simple things, the conversations, the laughter, the quiet, the familiar voice, the person sitting beside you, the feeling of knowing someone is there. That's what I want. A life where ordinary doesn't mean meaningless. A life where we can find something beautiful in a normal evening, where we don't need constant excitement to know we are happy, where peace doesn't feel empty, where home is not just a place, it is a person. And I want you to know something about that word, home. I don't mean that you should become my entire world. That wouldn't be fair to you. No person should have to carry the weight of being someone's entire world. I mean that I want our relationship to become one of the safest places in both our worlds. You can have your own dreams, I can have mine, and together, we can create something that belongs to both of us. That's different. That's healthier. That's stronger, because love shouldn't make your world smaller. It should give you more courage to live it. I want you to become more yourself beside me, not less. I want to encourage the things that make you feel alive. And I want you to encourage mine. If there is something you've always wanted to learn, I want to hear about it. If there is somewhere you've always wanted to go, tell me. If there is something you are afraid you are too old to begin, I want to know why you believe that. Because I don't want us to stop growing simply because we found each other. I want finding each other to become the beginning of another chapter of growth, not the end. And maybe that's what I have been trying to say all along. My personal number is waiting for you. But what I am really waiting for is the opportunity to know you. Not quickly, not superficially, not through assumptions, slowly, honestly, completely. I want to learn the woman behind the name, the person behind the voice, the heart behind the smile. And I want you to have enough time to learn me too, because if one day we call each other husband and wife, I don't want that title to be the most important thing about us. I want the friendship underneath it, the trust, the respect, the laughter, the ability to tell each other the truth. The feeling that even when the world becomes loud, we can still find a quiet place together. And maybe someday, when you look at your phone and see my number, you won't think about all these words, you won't need to. You'll simply know who is waiting on the other side, and perhaps that will be enough. But there's one deeper reason I want you to have a way to reach me. It has nothing to do with convenience. It has to do with the kind of love I want you to feel when life becomes difficult. Because loving someone during beautiful moments is easy. The real question is what they feel when everything becomes heavy. And that is what I want to talk about next. Because I don't want you to know me only through beautiful words. I want you to know what I believe about love when life stops being beautiful for a while. There will be difficult days. That's not a prediction, that's simply life. No matter how much two people love each other, there will be moments when responsibilities become heavy, when uncertainty enters the room, when plans change, when people disappoint us, when we become tired in ways we cannot easily explain. And on those days, I don't want you to wonder where I am. I want you to know I'm still here. Not because I have some magical ability to fix everything. I don't. Sometimes I won't know what to do. Sometimes I won't have the right words. Sometimes the only honest thing I can say will be, I don't know how to make this better, but I'm not leaving you alone in it. Maybe that sentence doesn't sound dramatic, but I think there is something powerful about it, because when someone is hurting, we often feel pressure to solve their pain. We search for advice. We search for explanations. We tell them everything will be okay, but sometimes everything isn't okay. And pretending that it is can make someone feel even more alone. I would rather sit with the truth than comfort you with something I don't know. If you're afraid, I'll listen. If you're uncertain, I'll listen. If you're exhausted, I'll listen. And if you don't want advice, I won't turn your pain into a problem I need to solve. Sometimes you simply need someone to say, I understand why this is difficult. That sentence can be a form of kindness, because being understood doesn't always remove pain. But it can make pain feel less lonely, and I want you to know that difference. I don't want to become the person who tells you how you should feel. I want to become the person who makes it safe for you to feel whatever you actually feel. There may be days when you're strong. There may be days when you're not. Both versions deserve love. You don't have to earn tenderness by being easy to love. Remember that. You don't have to be cheerful every morning. You don't have to make everything comfortable for me. You don't have to hide your exhaustion because you're afraid I'll think differently of you. I want the real you, and the real you will sometimes be tired, sometimes impatient, sometimes uncertain, sometimes emotional, sometimes completely confident, sometimes confused. That's not a contradiction. That's being human, and I want to be human with you too. There is something else I want us to understand early. We will both have wounds we didn't create in this relationship. Things that happened before we knew each other may influence how we react to things today. Maybe you were once ignored when you needed someone to listen. Maybe someone made promises and didn't keep them. Maybe you were made to feel replaceable. Maybe you trusted someone and learned a painful lesson. I don't need you to erase those experiences before loving me. But I do hope we can recognize when the past is speaking louder than the present, because sometimes the person standing in front of you is not the person who hurt you, and yet, your heart remembers. That's why trust can take time. That's why reassurance can matter. That's why certain words can carry more weight than they seem to. If something I say accidentally touches an old wound, I don't want to dismiss you by saying, you're overreacting. I want to ask, what did that make you feel? And I want to listen to the answer. Not every reaction will be perfectly reasonable. Mine won't be either, but emotions don't always arrive after asking permission. They simply appear. The important part is what we do after they arrive. Do we blame? Do we attack? Do we withdraw? Or do we become curious? Why did that hurt you so much? Why did that frighten me? What do we need from each other right now? Those questions can change the direction of a relationship, and I want us to become people who ask them, because I don't want to spend our lives trying to avoid every difficult feeling. That's impossible. I want us to become strong enough to move through difficult feelings without destroying each other. That's different. And, perhaps, this is where love becomes more mature, when you stop asking, how can I make sure nothing ever hurts? And start asking, how can we handle the things that hurt without losing each other? That's a much more realistic kind of hope. I don't promise you a life without pain. I promise you that I want to face pain honestly. And there is another kind of difficult moment we should talk about. The ordinary distance that can happen between two people, not a dramatic breakup, not betrayal, just life. Work becomes demanding. Responsibilities increase. Days become repetitive. People become tired. Conversations become shorter. You still care about each other, but you stop noticing each other. That can happen quietly, and I don't want us to believe that love maintains itself automatically. It doesn't. A relationship needs attention. Just like a person does, you cannot say, I loved you years ago, so you should still feel loved today. Love has to keep arriving, in different forms, at different times, according to what the person needs now. So I want us to keep asking each other, how are we doing? Not just individually, together. Are we okay? Are we talking enough? Are we spending enough time together? Is something missing? Is something changing? Are we still laughing? Are we still curious about each other? Those questions aren't signs of failure. They are signs that the relationship matters enough to maintain. And I want maintenance to feel normal, not like an emergency. We take care of what we value. That's true of everything, our bodies, our homes, our work, our responsibilities. Why would love be different? And maybe that's one of the reasons I want to know you deeply, because the more I understand you, the better I can recognize when something changes, not to control you, to notice you. There is a difference between watching someone and paying attention to them. Watching asks, what are you doing? Paying attention asks, how are you? I want the second, and I want you to pay attention to me too. If I become distant, ask. If I become quieter, ask. If something changes, let's talk before we build a story around it in our minds, because assumptions are dangerous. The mind hates uncertainty. When we don't know what someone is thinking, we often invent an explanation and, unfortunately, the explanation we invent is not always kind. A delayed message becomes rejection. A tired expression becomes anger. A need for space becomes abandonment. A disagreement becomes evidence that the relationship is failing. The mind fills empty spaces. That's why communication matters. Not because communication prevents every misunderstanding. It doesn't. It simply gives truth a chance to replace imagination. And I want truth between us, even when truth is uncomfortable, especially when it is. If something bothers you, I want you to tell me before resentment grows. Because resentment is rarely born from one huge moment. It can grow from dozens of small things that were never discussed, a need that wasn't expressed, a hurt that wasn't explained, an apology that never came, a question that was never asked, a feeling that was repeatedly dismissed. Eventually, those small things become heavy. I don't want us carrying invisible weight. Let's put things on the table. Let's talk. Let's listen. Let's repair. And then, let's move forward. Not every conversation needs to become a 3-hour emotional discussion. Sometimes the answer is simple. Sometimes it's an apology. Sometimes it's a change in behavior. Sometimes it's a hug. Sometimes it's giving each other a little time. But whatever it is, let's find it together, because I don't want to spend my life proving that I am right. I want to spend it building something that feels right for both of us. And if one day you are standing in front of me with tears in your eyes, unable to explain exactly what hurts, I don't want you to feel embarrassed. You won't need a perfect explanation. You can simply say, I don't know what's wrong. I just need you. And if I'm the man I hope to become, I will understand what you are asking. You aren't asking me to solve your entire life. You're asking me to be close. And sometimes closeness is the answer. So yes, my personal number is waiting for you. But if you ever use it on one of your hardest days, I don't want you to hesitate because you think you're disturbing me. You are not a disturbance. You are not an inconvenience. You are not someone I only want when everything is easy. If I truly choose you, then I choose the human reality of you. And I hope you will choose the same reality in me. Because eventually the most meaningful question won't be, do we love each other? I hope the answer to that will already be obvious. The deeper question will be, can we keep choosing each other when life asks us to? And I believe the answer should be yes, not blindly, not at the cost of dignity. Not by accepting things that should never be accepted, but through patience, honesty, respect, forgiveness, and the willingness to keep reaching toward each other, because that is the kind of love I want to give you. Not a love that exists only in beautiful moments. A love that knows how to remain gentle when the world outside becomes difficult. And there is still one thing I haven't said. Something about the woman I hope you become beside me, and the man I hope I become beside you. Because perhaps the greatest gift two people can give each other isn't simply companionship. It is the chance to become better human beings, without being made to feel inadequate for who they are today.